Getting back on a Chevrolet, folks. 56, a couple Fords. Feel kind of weird. What is this thing? 2012, folks. 2012 Chevrolet. That's a Silverado. Probably the big 5.3. And the guy says he's got some engine light. Kind of comes and goes, I guess. That's what I'm told. But he says it runs very poorly in the morning, or so he thinks. It runs worse in the morning than the rest of the time when he drives it. And evidently coming here to drop the thing off, it turned the engine light off. But this is the problem he's been having, the engine light coming and going here. Let's see what the survey says. So I left it sit outside. It just auto vend here. We'll put it in here, let it get loaded up. We don't want to miss anything important on a cold start. Let's see, turn our heater off. Service TPMS 151K on her, 151. So she's just about done in the Chevrolet world, anyways. At least here in the PRNY. Manual transfer case, it is not. It is without trailer brake controller, under 8,600, with vehicle stability, D95 without. Yeah, usually these old Chevys, you get to drive them right to the junkyard. Unfortunately, frames usually break in half on them. Right about this year. Let's see, we've got automatic HVAC. Here comes Mrs. O. What's up, Mrs. O?
Josh, do that purge valve?
Yeah, well, certainly. Let's see. So I'm wondering what codes we're going to have. I guess EVAP, but that's not going to make a car run rough, typically, unless the purge is just stuck wide open. But so we're going to hop into ECM. We're not going to do a full system scan. Just at the moment, we're not anyways. We're almost there. Current codes. Oh wow. P0101 mass airflow performance. Low voltage on a O2 sensor. Bank 1.1. Fuel system rich, bank 1. Fuel system rich, bank 2. And your classic General Motors 446 EVAP vent performance. Okay, pretty interesting. Well, let me get you guys where you can see, where we can all see, hopefully. We'll set this up here and see if we can zoom in, and we'll get some preliminary data and see what we can do. I'm hoping that's good enough for you. Let's just go into our fuel trims. I think we're going to have a couple issues with the old Chevy here. Oh boy. So our long term right here we can see is minus 25, so that's pretty bad. I'm surprised he said his engine light turned off. Let's look at loop status. We're going to want to watch coolant temp, of course, about 50 degrees outside right now. We want mass airflow. I don't know if we have fuel tank pressure in here. Uh-oh. Here's your problem, lady, right there. Alright, well, we know what's wrong with this, which is this right here. It's an alcoholic. Should have been drinking a little. Around here, you cannot get E85. This guy lives around here. So we don't have ethanol fuel, and he's a local. So before we do anything, let's just fix our rich problem. We'll do fuel composition reset. Let's see here, right? Is that what we're looking for? We're going to reset that. We're back to 3%. Now we're going to back out of here. We're going to go to, we're just going to reset our fuel trims. Looks like they already are because we did a composition reset. So let's go to live data. Let's go back where we were. It still has our PID selected. Let's go ahead and start it. And let's just see where our fuel trims end up, see what's going on, if there's anything funky with the mass airflow. There may not be, because our alcohol counter was off. So Ethanol is good. It's good to use. It's super duper clean. However, instead of burning a stoichiometric of 14.7 to 1, it burns at like 9.8. I can't remember the ratio. We're going to say almost 10 to 1, 9.875, I think it is, something like that. So if the engine is burning regular gasoline, we'll call it, so pump gas, so E10, but it thinks it's alcohol, it's going to pour the coal right to it and make it super rich. All right, so we're in closed loop, and we can see our short-term fuel trim is looking good. So that fixed our rich condition. Our mass airflow must be reporting correctly. It's cold right now. It looks like it's over-reporting a little bit, but I don't have our RPMs in here, but they're still up a little. All right, so let's go. Let's do this. Let's pop into generic OBD2 and see what codes we're turning on the mill. I can do it in the OEM side, but sometimes it's easier just to pop in here. You know, where we just dealing with where the other codes, history codes, or what. Let's see. So 3 codes found. Oops, we don't want to look at that. Was the drive cycle complete? Let me just see. Drive cycle is complete. We have no monitors incomplete. I'll grab our codes. Okay, I've seen these two together. So our rich bank 1, rich bank 2, being caused by alcohol content being too far off. I don't think that'll set a 101 though. So let's just have a look again at our mass airflow data. Everything's turned off, all engine loads are off. So maybe his evap code must have been just an old history code because it wasn't pending or active on the generic side. Let's see here. So it still appears to be reporting a little bit high. What we're looking for is the grams per second is approximately engine displacement at idle. So I know on these GMs, it does run a little high, so I would expect to see this around 6 grams per second with the engine warmed up at idle, no load, no AC, no nothing. So being that the engine's still cold, we're going to let this thing warm up. I'm going to take it for a rip because we can see it's coming down as engine load's being reduced as it's warming up, and we'll see where it steadies out. We're going to graph it. We're going to go give it some full throttle. We'll set our graph here, and we'll go out and give her some beans. I guess you guys can ride right there if you don't mind. If you don't mind. I don't know if you'll stay there or not, but we'll give it a try. And then what we'll do is we'll see where the mass airflow is steadying out. As long as it looks good and steady, we'll what will we do? We'll give a visual inspection on it, make sure there's not a mouse living in the air filter, because that's a possibility. You guys probably want to see where we're going. Make you nervous. Hold on here. There you go. Pop's got his arm around you. I don't want you falling over back there. That's when she's ready to ball. Here we go. California coaster, nothing coming. Chevy Thunder! Good and steady. Don't see any weird dropouts in it. All back on the road there, fella. Oh, feel that torque. pretty good, boys. Let's go back, just do a visual inspection on it. And I think we're done here. So pretty common on these Chevys to have your fuel alcohol content way off, especially if you've been at the bar all night. You don't want to be driving around at 75%. Let's see. I believe GM has a bulletin on these too, a TSB you can share with your customer. It talks about the importance of refueling and not getting, 5-10 gallons at a time, or $5 or $10 worth at a time, a couple gallons at a time, because it looks for a refueling event, and then it checks O2 sensor switch rates to determine alcohol content. I mean, it's way more complicated than that, but that's a long story short, as they say. Should be about warmed up now. Let's pull up here and have a look. There's Luna, the kitty. Oh, he's got a headlight out too. Alright, so just as I suspected, we're doing pretty good. So we're at 5.8. I expected to see it around 6 grams per second in my experience testing Chevrolets. Oddly enough, these LS engines, being a pushrod V8, so old technology, they're very efficient in airflow. So an engine is nothing more than an air pump, and typically a overhead valve pushrod V8 are not very efficient. When you're talking volumetric efficiency, they're usually in the 80 percentile. Now some of these GMs will run in the upper 90s, which is pretty bizarre for a pushrod motor. We can see, we're holding 6.5. Now let's go check. Let's check our fuel trims just to see where we're at. We should be all good now. Our long term should have populated. We're gonna go to show all, and we're gonna go to fuel. And we want short-term, long-terms on every bank. And it's still reporting just a scotch on the rich side here. So that's pretty interesting. Let's have a look-see at our mass airflow. Like I say, it appears to be reporting about where it is. I'm curious though how long he's been driving this with the alcohol content off, because we could be pulling all of this out of the crankcase. Does that make sense? So let's see, the oil change is due. Let's see when his oil change is due here. 157 according to the sticker. It's got 151 on it. So 6,000 miles. Do it 150. What the heck kind of oil is he running where he's getting 6,000 miles? It just says 530. Huh. Let's go have a little sniff with our sniffer. See if the oil smells like gasoline. Oh my God, Josh is in here working. Let me tell you what. So we're not bugging him. Let's just do this. We'll be outside mechanics today. Oh yeah, Chevy Thunder. And this is a big 5.3. Let me go get a rag. She doesn't smell too stinky. I've smelled stinkier. Because that is always a concern when an engine's running that rich, where it's just pouring the coal right to it. But it must have just had it changed, because it's pretty clean and it's full, and these things love burning oil. Let's pop our mass airflow out. Have a look in here, kind of visual inspection, see if we see anything funky. Just got me a brand new can yesterday, as a matter of fact. My first can I've had that was probably several years old. Finally ran out. Stuff lasts forever. Let's see here. So we're going to take this little guy right off. Oh yeah, she's filthy. Filthy. Let me set these screws down here because I'm going to send them flying if I don't. We're going to have a little look. Oh man, I think it's dark as a pocket. So this side of the fine wires are nice and clean. You probably can't see them on there. But we flip this thing over and it's like carbon black on this side. And it goes in like this. So the clean side facing the engine, the dirty side is facing the air filter, but they're quite filthy, the hot wires on here are. So that's pretty simple. We just need to clean the mass airflow in that regards, but it's kind of interesting because it seems to be reporting pretty well. Or pretty well where I would expect it anyways, unless I'm way off, but which I've been way off before. Now we're going to take a look at the air filter. Now, I can't fathom that this air filter is dirty, being that it has an express lube sticker on it, because they like to upsell. What's up, Miss O?
The Odyssey
Yes, ma'am.
got dropped off early because the check engine light was flashing and it wasn't running well.
Imagine that.
So,
It's only got like 400,000 miles.
well, you might want to check that out before we do a timing belt.
Well, yeah. You think?
Yeah.
We're doing it outside in the field repair.
Oh yeah.
We're in the field. We call it.
I thought you already. Oh, this is Silverado, never mind.
This is Chevy.
I thought you were working on the Ford.
Now take a break from Fords, working on Chevys.
Yeah. Bread and butter.
That's right. Put your kids through college right here, boy.
Everything breaks.
Mostly Chevys though. Come on. I got a whole Chevy hate theme going
How
on.
many
I can't
Fords
quit.
you got in the sparking lot? Let's see. 1, 2.
Yeah, got a couple.
You got 2. How many Dodges? Let's see. 1, 2.
Jeep, 3.
And then you got 2 Chevys. So Chevy, Ford.
What's on the list? Oh, son of a frig hole.
Well, you do have 1 Honda, but we don't count that. It's got 400,000 miles on it.
That's right. Yeah, see, I told you it'd be brand new. Express Lube never let you down.
That's how you win every time.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully they don't break anything else. Get into it.
Yeah, well, there he did, because see, here's the piece of the box that's broken right here, stuck on this screw, which was supposed to be on that screw that was down low that I just dropped.
Uh-oh.
I gotta find, but we're out here in the field, so I'm gonna get this put back together, folks. I'll show you how I clean the mass airflow with CRC mass airflow cleaner. Not a sponsor of the show, but it works pretty well. Let's be honest, so it doesn't break clean. Alright, hour later I found my screw. Not quite that long, but it ended up falling like back in this corner, even though it was the bottom screw and it sounded like it went that way. I found it. We had to do a little fishing. Now, because mother frigger, you know what? My last freaking can, I tell you what, don't buy this CRC crap. This thing pisses me off. My last can leaked all around the top. Look at this here. Let me show you something. This is not piss guy off. Brand new can. I literally just opened it. When you squeeze her down, I'm gonna send this freaking can back though. We'll line her up. When we give her a squeeze, it freaking all comes out of the top, and then you can dump it out. See how it's dripping back here? If you cock it just right, then it just all kind of comes out and freaking runs down your hand. That's enough to piss the guy off. But we're not gonna get pissed off this morning. We're gonna spray a little bit on our Q-tip. My last can did that. I'm gonna show you that this is dirty. I'm gonna very gingerly reach in here, clean the fine wire, and then I can show you the tip of the tip. Tip of the Q-tip. You see how that's got the black spot on it? And I'll show you that black spot wasn't on there. I'll put a little bit of cleaner on this one. We'll reach down here, give the bottom one a little clean. I did hit the air temp sensor when I was in there, but you can see it's filthy. You're filthy. This is why we don't have sponsors, folks. We can tell you, CRC cans, crap. Cleaner, works pretty well. Can't say I've ever had an issue with it. But you gotta be careful going in there with your Q-tip. I just do it to get the thick sludge off. But you stick a little piece of hair on there like I did, there we go, I got it, from your Q-tip, then you're in worse shape than you were. So now we give it a full douche. And according to this, we're looking at up to 10 HPs. So I give it a full douche like that. And shake it off the can. Makes me want to just chuck that thing. That'd be a fun video. And everybody be like, you have anger issues. We're going to send that right back to Crappa, right where we got it from. We're going to make Napper get us a new can because we ain't doing that again for another year. I was looking forward to getting rid of the other can. Oh well. If that's the worst that happens to me all day, I think we're in good shape. We're going to stick our bolts back in here. Or our screws. There's one. There's two. And then we're going to take and drive it again. And we're going to see where our fuel trim numbers steady out. I'm not going to clear them. We're just going to drive it. Let's see. I don't know what you guys think about videos like these. Which is kind of some scan tool stuff, you know. The boring parts of the job, I guess. If you're into like nuts and bolts things, I guess. So we drive the vehicle so it goes through all the different cell blocks. And, you know, because each throttle position, each engine load, each, you know, of course that's associated RPM and everything, it goes through different cell blocks and starts to calculate your long-term and short-term, or, you know, back in the old days, your adaptive numerator, I guess it would be. We're going way back in the GM days when we're talking about that. So we're going to go through and just let the ECM populate each one of those cell blocks and start to learn its fuel trim just through various types of driving, and then we're going to see what we end up with total trim. So that's why you'll see, like if you're watching the fuel trim numbers, constantly changing your long term. Like you could give it some beans and then all of a sudden your long term will change. Of course, now I'm making a liar out of me, it doesn't. But you'll see like a rapid change where it'll hit some big negative numbers or big positive numbers that were stored in there from the previous trip. You know, previously in that cell block in its memory, it knew that at this engine load the fuel trim was, you know, minus 18, minus 20, whatever it was. And now all of a sudden it hits that cell block again, and oxygen sensor, you know, it's a feedback system, so it's saying, no, not today. And then the short term makes a quick correction, stores it back in its memory, so it knows when we come back into that cell block again that, you know, that's where it's at. Probably none of that just made any bit of sense to you, but that's okay. In my mind it does. So I just pulled over and I was just looking at our fuel trim data at idle, which appears to be the worst. That's where it creeps a little bit above 10%. Like I say, we'll go back and pop the PCB system off because I'm not so sure that that's all coming from purge, but I was kind of confused. I was looking down here, our long-term average without purge, I'm like 1, 0 to 2s. I'm like, so this isn't a percentage, this is lambda. Ding dong, I wasn't thinking. So short-term test, you know, obviously we're very close, lambda being 1. And here we're making what, a 10-12% correction. Long-term test, so minus 12, or minus 11 I guess we're at right now, but I don't know how often it populates that. Yeah, because that's reading in lambda, and our lambda right now is commanded at 1. Okay, but I'm super happy with this. I mean, these things will run all day long with a negative 10 fuel trim without having any, you know, any issues. You know, plus or minus 10 is always a general rule. Well, I tell you what, when you're working on GMs with GDI, purge is a huge influencer in fuel trim data. So I think we're going to be more than happy here. I unhooked the PCV hose back there, where it hooks the valve cover, put a plug in it, and then where the manifold draws the fresh air from this side, I unhooked that hose and then just stuck a rubber plug there in the air intake. So we'll give that a second to steady out, and that'll tell us if the remaining fuel trim values are just because of crankcase gases, which is what I'm assuming. Oh, look at that. So here at an idle, now we are almost perfectly at 0, which is 100% ideal. So you guys can see that there. So that's running as good as it can get, folks. So that tells me when it goes to the -10 or -11 where it was, that's all because of, unburnt fuel in the crankcase from running rich, rich with alcohol. Even though the oil just got changed, there still must be drawing some vapors, if that makes sense to you. So that's the fastest way to tell there. I think we've done a video on this before. On the GDI is a very, very common video, or a common problem on these. Let me set you down. So on the GDIs, the fuel pump is inside the engine, runs off the cam like most of them do, all that I know do. And what that does, there we go, make sure we got that thing clipped on. It puts gas, it directly fills up the crankcase. Make sure we don't come on down up here. Directly fills up the crankcase with gas and then pulls it through the PCV system. So now that that's hooked back up, we'll fire it up and we'll watch our fuel trim over there. After it steadies out, we'll give it a second. And there we are with the PCV hooked back up. We're running around -10 again. So again, not horrible by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll give it some throttle, repopulate different grid blocks there, cell blocks. So nothing I get too excited about. And there we have it. I guess we just have to clear codes now. Let me go back in and make sure that was all we had. I'm pretty sure it was. The evap code that was in there, and the oxygen sensor code must apparently have been old history codes. Let me just double check. I think that was all. So mass airflow we fixed. Fuel trims we fixed. The vent performance appears to be working, the canister vent valve, and then clearly our O2 sensor is working as it should. Otherwise our fuel trims would be kind of wonky. So we're going to hit erase, and I'm going to give it back to the fella. Obviously it needs a headlight bulb. It needs it could benefit from an oil change, but not 100% necessary. You must only have about 1,000 miles on it. It must be the express lube. I don't know how many miles they put on their sticker. Usually on these GMs, if they're running synthetic, I only run them 5,000 miles. Because if you got a customer, so right now he's got 6,000 some to go. What I've noticed on these, if you're at 6, 8, 10,000 mile intervals, the thing ain't gonna have a drop of oil in it when it comes in, because it's gonna burn it all. These DOD engines, they burn oil like it ain't nobody's business. So even on ours, if we do our customers at 5,000 miles, if they're not checking in between, I mean, they'll come in, they'll be 2 quarts low, which is not uncommon. Particularly, like say, as they start burning oil. So especially 150,000 miles, he's probably an oil burner. But I think we're in good shape for now. I'll leave that up to him, what he wants to do as far as going the rest of the way. His light's going to stay out now. It's back within fuel control. We reset the fuel composition for the alcohol counter, cleaned the mass airflow, and the other 2 issues that were there, history codes, appear to be working. So why don't you work your way down that comment section? Go down there, leave me the question, the comment, the concern you have. Find me on the Insta, the Facebook. You guys know what to do. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.